Hey guys, let's review the pieces of advice we have learned so far. The first one, you can look at the screen, relax, smile. Не надейтесь, что врачи сделают вас здоровым. Do not hope that doctors will make you happy. Will make you healthy. That's really wise. Second, врачи лечат болезни, а здоровье нужно добывать самому. Do you remember what was добывать? It was to obtain. So doctors treat diseases, but health you should obtain yourself. Third one. Regarding the third one, we have learned that sickness comes, please look at the screen, от неразумности образа жизни. Неразумность was foolishness or silliness, and образ жизни was lifestyle. So от неразумности образа жизни was from the foolishness of the lifestyle. And what does it mean, foolishness of the lifestyle? We learned that it was, look, снижение резервов в результате детренированности. Снижение was the decrease of the reserves. В результате is a result of детренированности, lack of training. And then the fourth one, which we have started. Тренировка резервов должна быть разумной. So you might notice that неразумность. Please look here. Неразумность. And разумной comes from the same root, разум, which means mind. So разумный means smart. The training of the reserves should be smart. We will start today from here, even though we advanced few lines into this part. So the training of the reserves should be smart. Это значит постепенное, но упорное. Постепенное means gradual. Упорное means persistent. So that means gradual but persistent. So let's remind ourselves. Let's remember. Gradual but persistent. Also in Russian. Your progress. Gradual but persistent. Если сказать о сути тренировки, то это режим ограничений и нагрузок. RON. So RON, that's an abbreviation. Режим ограничений нагрузок. Суть means core. Core. Therefore, this sentence starts. Если сказать о сути тренировки. If we're talking about the core of the training, то это режим. Режим means regiment. Ограничений, limitations. Нагрузок, efforts. So please follow this whole sentence. Если сказать о сути тренировки, то это режим ограничений и нагрузок. RON. If we are talking about the core of training, then that means, to это means, then that means. Then that means the regiment of limitations and efforts. And the abbreviation is RON. Это мой конек. Do you remember конек? If you have it printed and you haven't done that, please put 2 dots above ye, so that it becomes yo. And конек is a speciality. So это мой конек, that's my speciality. So what's his speciality? Режим ограничений и нагрузок. The regiment of limitations and efforts. Впрочем, ничего оригинального я не придумал. Впрочем means however. Придумал means made up or invented. So, however, nothing original I haven't invented. 3 главных пункта. The three main points. Yeah? Пункт means points. Первый. Еда с минимумом жиров. So that's clear. The first, food with the minimum of fats. Because жир, if you're not familiar, жир means fat. And by the way, impolite word for someone who is fat would be жирный. But do not use this word. There is another polite word for a fat person. Полный. Полный. So, первый, еда с минимумом жиров. So first, food with the minimum of fats. 300 грамм, this is gram, right? Грамм овощей и фруктов ежедневно. И чтобы вес не поднимался выше цифры, рост минус 100 килограмм. So ежедневно was daily. All the rest I think it's going to be clear. So 300 grams of vegetables and fruit daily. And for the weight, вес, you probably know, that's weight. For the weight, not to get up above the number, height minus 100 kilograms. In other words, if, according to this advice, if your height is 1 meter and 80 centimeters, then you should not exceed 80 kilograms. 180 minus 100. And I'm just reminding you guys that чтобы не, at least in this case, means shouldn't. So чтобы вес не поднимался, the weight shouldn't rise, shouldn't rise above the number da-da-da. So чтобы не, one of the meanings is shouldn't. Второй, физкультура. So второй meaning второй пункт, the second point. The second point of training. Второй физкультура. So физкультура means physical training. Тут дело посложнее. Посложнее comes from сложный, which is complicated. And it means more complicated. Посложнее. You can also say, he could have said сложнее. That would be the same. Тут дело посложнее. So, and дело means issue. Here, it is more complicated issue. Она всем нужна, а детям и старикам особенно. Она relates to физкультура, physical training. Она всем нужна, it means it, физкультура, needed to everyone. But in the proper English, everyone needs it. Особенно means especially. So everyone needs it, but children and old people especially. Поскольку теперь на работе почти никто физически не напрягается, то, по идее, для приличного здоровья нужно бы заниматься по часу в день каждому. Поскольку means because. Напрягается means to strain, or to strain yourself, because that's ся. So therefore, поскольку теперь на работе почти никто физически не напрягается, we'll translate, because nowadays, теперь, at work, almost anyone strains physically. Almost anyone strains physically. To means then. T-H-A-N. So because of something, then, по идее. So, по идее, please underline it in your printed materials and write above, in the best case scenario. In the best case scenario. That's the expression, по идее. Or like, in the best case possible. Для приличного здоровья. So, приличного comes from приличный, which is quite good. So, для приличного здоровья, for quite a good health. Нужно бы. So, бы means would here. And нужно means need. So, нужно бы, would be needed. Would be needed. Заниматься, in this case, it means to train. Заниматься basically means to be engaged in something. For example, заниматься музыкой, to be engaged in music. But in this case, because we are talking about sports, that's to be engaged in sports or to train. По часу в день каждому. So, по часу в день, 1 hour a day. And каждому comes from каждый, means to everyone. So now please see, the English here won't be correct, because it's important for me that you get the Russian structure. Поскольку теперь на работе почти никто физически не напрягается, то, по идее, для приличного здоровья нужно бы заниматься по часу в день каждому. Because nowadays at work, almost no one strains physically, then, in the best case scenario, for quite a good health, it would be needed to train 1 hour a day for everyone. Next, но нет для этого характера у нормального человека. So in English, the word order would be completely different, but in Russian, so нет у means doesn't have, but doesn't have for that character, a normal person. In the proper English, but a normal person doesn't have character for that. Character means like traits of personality. That's character. It doesn't mean character in a movie, for example. So, но нет для этого характера у нормального человека, but a normal person doesn't have character for that. Поэтому хотя бы 20-30 минут гимнастики. Это примерно 1000 движений. Лучше с гантелями по 2-5 килограмм. So хотя бы means at least. Примерно about. Движений movements. Now the word с гантелями, гантели, means weights. Weights that you use for training. And when he says с гантелями по 2-5 килограмм, по here means of. Sometimes it means of. So с гантелями with the weights of 2 to 5 kg. So he says that most people don't have character for training, for proper training. Поэтому хотя бы 20-30 минут гимнастики. Therefore, at least 20 to 30 minutes of gymnastics. Это примерно 1000 движений. That's about 1000 movements. Лучше с гантелями по 2-5 килограмм. Better with weights of 2 to 5 kg. And then he says, советую упражняться перед телевизором, когда новости показывают, чтобы время экономить. It relates to the fact that in the former Soviet Union, lots of people had this custom of watching новости, news, in the evening. So he says, советую, упражняться. Упражняться means to exercise. Упражняться. So when he says, советую упражняться перед телевизором, I recommend to exercise in front of the TV. Когда новости показывают. So when they show новости. Новости means news. Чтобы время экономить. In order to save the time. Yeah? So you can watch the news and train at the same time. So again, советую упражняться перед телевизором, когда новости показывают, чтобы время экономить. I recommend to train in front of the TV when they show news, in order to save time. В качестве добавления к физкультуре желательно выделять участок для ходьбы по пути на работу и обратно по 1 километру. So в качестве, please underline, and it means as. В качестве as. For example, ты хороший в качестве друга. You are good as a friend. В качестве друга. As. Добавление means addition. Therefore, в качестве добавления к физкультуре would be as an addition to the physical training. Желательно means it is advisable. Желательно comes from желание, which is wish or desire. So it's desirable, it's advisable. Выделять участок для ходьбы. So выделять, it has several meanings, but in this case it means dedicate. Выделять. Dedicate. And участок, it's the same as часть, which is part. And he's talking here either about part of time or part of distance. It's difficult to understand from the sentence because it doesn't say. But I will just translate that as part of stretch, like stretch of time or stretch of length, stretch of distance. So, в качестве добавления к физкультуре желательно выделять участок для ходьбы. As an addition to physical training, it is advisable to dedicate a stretch for walking, either stretch of time or stretch of distance. По пути на работу и обратно. So, on the way to work and back. По 1 километру. So, of 1, you remember по, exactly. По, previously. It means of 1 kilometer. So, I will read this whole sentence again. Slow reading. В качестве добавления к физкультуре желательно выделять участок для ходьбы по пути на работу и обратно по 1 километру. As an addition to the physical training, it is advisable to dedicate a stretch for walking on the way to work and back of 1 kilometer. Полезно и нервы сохраняет, учитывая плохой транспорт. Полезно means it's good for your well-being. That's полезно. It's good for your well-being. Сохраняет means keeps or saves. So when he says полезно и нервы сохраняет, it means it's good for your well-being and it saves your nerves. It means it doesn't make you angry. Учитывая плохой транспорт. Учитывая means taking into account. That's an important word for you to know. Taking into account bad transportation, bad public transportation. So therefore, полезно и нервы сохраняет, учитывая плохой транспорт. So it's good for your well-being and it keeps your nerves safe. Taking into account bad public transportation. О беге трусцой я уже не говорю. Нереально, но полезно. So бег трусцой means jogging. Я уже не говорю, it means I even don't want to talk. Literally that's I'm already not talking, but I don't even want to talk. So about jogging, I don't even want to talk. Нереально, unreal. No полезно, but, you remember полезно, but good for your well-being. So he has kind of low opinion of an average person regarding their willpower. So, perfect. So now look, I'm going to read this, I'm going to read it from the beginning, from number 4. You're going to check yourself. Please do not skip this part. It might be very, very important part because you actually test your comprehension. This will show you if you need to rewatch the lesson because you might rewatch it and then you will see that your comprehension gets better. We're not playing games here, guys. We are learning advanced Russian in order for you to really succeed in your Russian. So, 4. Тренировка резервов должна быть разумной. Это значит постепенная, но упорная. Если сказать о сути тренировки, то это режим ограничений и нагрузок. РОН. Это мой конек. Впрочем, ничего оригинального я не придумал. 3 главных пункта. Первый – еда с минимумом жиров. 300 грамм овощей и фруктов ежедневно. И чтобы вес не поднимался выше цифры, рост минус 100 килограмм. Второй – физкультура. Тут дело посложнее. Она всем нужна, а детям и старикам особенно. Поскольку теперь на работе почти никто физически не напрягается, то, по идее, для приличного здоровья нужно бы заниматься по часу в день каждому. Но нет для этого характера у нормального человека. Поэтому хотя бы 20-30 минут гимнастики. Это примерно 1000 движений. Лучше с гантелями по 2-5 килограмм. Советую упражняться перед телевизором, когда новости показывают, чтобы время экономить. В качестве добавления к физкультуре желательно выделять участок для ходьбы по пути на работу и обратно по 1 километру. Полезно и нервы сохраняет, учитывая плохой транспорт. О беге трусцой я уже не говорю. Нереально, но полезно. Okay, guys, I hope those lessons contribute to your well-being, in addition to helping you advance in Russian. If you have any friends that want to learn with us, please invite them, like and subscribe, and please come for the next lesson. And if you want my private help with your Russian, you have my email below. Please contact me and we will figure out how to move you up the best way. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.